I was a board member a few years, not many, before I became president. In fact, the executive director at that time was Mr. Sal Margolin, who had been a Sunday school teacher of mine at Beth Shalom. I got a phone call from Sal saying, Lenny, how would you like to be president of the Jewish Community Center? Well, caught me off guard a little bit. Not a little bit, a whole lot. Because, like I said, I wasn't involved in any of the politics. Didn't really know too much of what was going on. What I knew best was that Sal Margolin wanted the parking lot full of cars. Sal called me and said, "You want to be president?" I said, "Let me think about it." Well, unfortunately, my dad had passed away. I really had no one to talk to. And I talked to my wife, who was not involved in the center. But I talked to a gentleman by the name of Martin Fromm, who I was involved with. And his comment to me was, if you don't take it now, you'll never have another chance. So I took it. And I'll be honest with you, I had some regrets because it's like I got involved in World War III. I was Sal Margolin at the time, and Jack Farb, who was the athletic director, were at odds. They didn't talk to each other. Jack had his supporters, and Sal had his supporters. An example would be one day I get a phone call on a Sunday morning about 7:30 in the morning from Jack Farb. Jack says, "Lenny, we got a problem." I said, "What is the problem?" "The problem is," he says, "somebody drove a car into our outdoor swimming pool. What should I do?" I said, "Jack, what do you mean, what should I do? What am I going to do? What can I do?" I said, first thing I would do, I'm going to tell you, call a wrecker, a tow truck, and tow it out, get it out of the pool. Needless to say, I was upset. He said, "Well, we have a inner city swimming meet in a couple of days, and we'll have oil in the pool." I said, "I don't know what to tell you, Jack. Get the damn oil out of the pool. I mean, Jack, you're the guy. I mean, you're the guy who's the athletic director. You've been here 20 years. I've been here about 6 months. I don't know what the hell's going on." So anyway, Jack got the pool fixed somehow, some way. I don't know. I really didn't care how, and as long as you didn't spend a lot of money. So next thing, I get a call from Sal Margolin at my office. "Lenny, we got a problem." That's all they get. It seems like every time they had a problem, they called me, and I don't even work there. I'm not getting paid. So I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "Well, we got a water bill for $35,000. I says, "You got to be kidding." I says, "What's the normal water bill?" He said, "Well, it's about $10,000 for both pools." And I said, "Well, why did it get so big? He said, well, we don't know, but Charles, who was our bookkeeper at the time, I said, didn't he pay it on time? He said, well, I don't really know. I said, Saul, you don't know if he paid it on time? Well, he's a little behind, and I guess he didn't want to say anything. We got a $35,000 water bill. I think we're budgeted at maybe $10,000. I said, what are we going to do? So he says to me, Saul, he says, Lenny, I'll get Izzy Ozar to call the water department. I says, I don't need Izzy Ozar. I'll call the water department. So I called the Kansas City Water Department. I talked to the number one guy, and I told him the problem. I says, we got a bill, and we can't pay it. We can't afford it. I said, I don't know what to tell you. He says, well, we can't turn off the water. I said, what do you mean you can't turn off the water? I said, if a customer owed me $35,000, man, I would have been on his, I'd been in his office. Where's my money? He tells me, well, I can't turn it off because if we turn off the water and you close the pool and all the kids in the neighborhood and everybody, and we'll get a bad rap out of the deal. Well, I said, I appreciate that very much. He says, let me call you back in a couple of days. I said, okay, fine. So a couple of days, I get a phone call from this guy. He says, I tell you what, part of that $35,000 is tax on the sewer tax. He says, I can't do anything about that. He says, but the water, I can forget about it. I says, well, what does that bring the bill down to? About 22,000. I said, man, you're killing me. So we made a deal for about 20,000, which was a hell of a lot better than 35,000. So we had a member who was Tip Top Plumbing, who was a guy by the name of Nussbaum, Sam Nussbaum, who was a plumber, had a big plumbing company here in town, and he checked it out and looked it over, and we finally decided we had a hell of a leak. The water was going right down the sewer. So I investigated how much it would cost to fix this. We didn't know where the leak was, but we knew we had a leak. $100,000 to fix the leak. Why do I get all this shit? God, needless to say, it upset me. And so over time, we scraped together some money from some people, and we paid the water bill, and I can't remember how we fixed it, but we fixed the leak somehow, some way, and we went on. That was a water bill, and that was enough. I didn't realize at the time that being president of the Jewish Community Center would be as stressful as it was for a layman like me, who hadn't been involved in the center that much and was not I didn't know that much about the politics, and there were politics.
Yep.